Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at an unlimited Vengeance Blood list. Very interesting one at that, I would say. I mean, it's very reminiscent of those old Vengeancecraft decks, but the newer cards really kind of, well, I think the one newer card, honestly, really fitted in with Savage Wolf, really curving it out nicely, especially since you can't run triple Blood Wolf anymore and you can only run a single one. Also, this tends to be a great counter to most of the other decks in Unlimited right now. Things like Atomy can't deal with aggression in the very early game, hardly at all. I mean, Atomy on its own really only deals with one threat. If you're playing 3 threats, you're going to get a lot more damage in than that Atomy can in a much shorter time frame. So this Vengeance deck does quite good at that. It deals with the swords, which are floating around. I've had a few sword matches that have gone reasonably well. And the only other match is Daria, which Vengeance Blood I would say is definitely favoured against in Unlimited. Daria is great and definitely can beat this deck, but overall Vengeance Blood just kind of has a slight edge there, I would say. So we'll get right into some games and check it out. Okay, so the first game we're going to look at is Sword. As I mentioned, Sword, pretty reasonable matchup for this deck. Sword, while being aggressive as well, doesn't quite handle the kind of, I'd like to say mid-rangey cards like Belf that's at 4. And of course things like Esmeralda and stuff like that that just have higher health totals. So as you get to the more mid game, you can really take your opponent out. We start off with a pretty good hand, honestly. I mean, I love having Diabolic Drain with Belf because it means Belf can be played on turn 5 with little to no loss, which is great. Whereas on turn 4, you're basically losing a massive tempo swing just to play Belf onto the board. Of course, Lancer of Tempest had to be the pain in the ass card that I can't actually deal with here. But Angel of Word will just pick off a little bit of damage to the face, so why not? Vice Captain seems pretty reasonable. I mean, if you're going to get his ward, you may as well play him. And the Cthulhu is going to trade really nicely. And of course, I go for some draw power, setting up the Belf for next turn. We're not too worried about taking damage, because if we go into Vengeance anyway, it's not really going to matter. So getting that low should be fine. And I honestly don't see them easily attacking me down without huge risks to their own safety, basically, due to Vengeance Blood being Vengeance orientated. We also have triple Belf, which is really actually quite good. Once you have one activated and you are in Vengeance, the others are free draw power. So not bad at all in that regard. And my 2-1 got to stay up, meaning I get a really neat trade, especially with this Diabolic Drain dealing the 5/4 lethal damage, so worked out quite nicely. Even better now, I can play another Belf into Diabolic if I need to next turn, so we actually have a great setup for Belphegors. Opponent not really doing too much at all. And we get Savage Wolf, so quite good, honestly. I couldn't fault those draws at all. Didn't see the need to really play out the Diabolic Drains against a 2-1. I think trading the Belf probably the better way to go. And Ogre Hunter, yeah, pretty good. Not going to be really enough to deal with everything I've got, and they're starting to run out of cards, which is a good spot for me to be in. I'm in Vengeance, I've got healing, I've got clears. All I need to do now is deal damage to them, and we can pretty much roll this game out. As long as they don't make it to turn 9, we pretty much win. I mean, turn 9, of course, being Albert turn, Albert's Evolve would be 10 damage, and that's something we don't want to see. But they really are stalling. They definitely were aiming for that. Lucky for me, Diabolic Drain and Esmeralda is actually going to be a really easy way to remove this and just go face for way more than lethal damage. It was a good little bit of setup.
I should have foreseen this.
The next deck at the mercy of this Vengeance Blood deck is Dragon. Dragon is not that great, honestly. I don't see Dragon doing that well in Unlimited at the moment, at least not from the games I've played, and I've spent most of today playing in Unlimited just so I could try and come up with something interesting for you guys. Mainly because with the changes coming up, I wanted to showcase something that probably wasn't going to be hit by the changes too hard, and Vengeance Blood was about the only deck that really had consistency, so it's really nice to see. So we start off with a 1-drop, that's something you always want when you're going to go more aggressive, and we have a perfect curve now with 1, 2, 3 and 4 drops all lining up nicely into a good turn 5 with Dark General. So all of that actually fitted out pretty much perfectly. You couldn't get a much better hand. Of course, there are other hands that are more situational, but this one, for this matchup, worked out really, really well. So we see the Beast get dropped, no real issue with it. And I basically have a free Belf turn, so why not? Especially now we have Diabolic Drain, so that means Razorary Claw basically has no negative effect, and Diabolic is a 4-drop clear, so really good. Like, being able to Diabolic Drain for 4 damage is going to easily kill this Trinity Dragon, which will work out really nicely. And then Razorary Claw if we want to go with it, Dark General, you know, we have plenty of options for damage. I think Dark General might be the better one just because we do get a really nice 10 damage on them. It just means I can't go for the Razorary Claw, and I'm forced to go with Diabolic Drain. Not that that's bad, definitely sets up next turn for Razorary Claw regardless, so either way it works out fine. I do want to say, if you're looking for a blood deck in this current meta and you're having trouble with rotation for whatever reason, try Unlimited Vengeance Blood. It's definitely worth a go. You will run into a lot of pain in the ass decks like Daria, like an Atomy deck, all those sort of things, but overall I think this thing has a reasonable matchup against all of them. It definitely hasn't got too many negative matchups, not any that I've actually had yet. All of them have been either equal or positive, so that's always good. And if in general you just have missions you need to complete, this is a great deck to do that. It's fast, it's consistent, and it's reasonably cheap. I mean, Belf is the only legendary that you're running. Everything else is pretty much bronze and silver, except for, I think, the Emerald is the only gold. Maybe wrong, I'd have to relook at the deck again, but yeah, it's not too bad at all cost-wise. And you can actually obtain things like Belf from the pre-builts if you're interested in those, if you're a newer player. That's if you want to stick to a more unlimited playstyle over a rotation. If you're going to stick to rotation, you definitely not recommended to buy Belf right now. So Magic Missile clears that 2-1 there. No real issue, we're still going to get damage, which is what we want. And we can drop Belf basically for free again. It's always good when you can drop it consistently on 4 with no contesting cards. If you're not going to be contested next turn or lose too much tempo, usually you're going to be fine dropping it. So they do go with the return, a little bit of an annoyance, but not really anything major. We basically have a free turn to deal as much damage as we want, which against decks like Daria or D-Shift is great because really they don't have anything on turn 5 that's substantial. Very rarely they are dropping Daria, and if they are, they're usually losing a lot of their hand because they're playing Daria basically at full cost or very, very close to full cost on turn 5. So for us, we're pretty much in the positive no matter what. Which, as you see here, they literally just skipped turn 5, obviously having nothing to counter this. So as you just saw, this deck is extremely quick. It's great for farming chests at the moment, especially just because unlimited format chest farming is reasonably easy with a deck like this because it's fast, so you don't have to worry about wins or losses too much. Getting wins is pretty consistent, it's definitely not difficult, and it pretty much runs itself. So we do have 2 Grimnirs, 3 Emeraldas, and the 3 Belfs. They're the most expensive cards in the deck. Everything else is reasonably cheap. As always, I'll have this deck in the description below so you can find it, along with any other links that you may need. So make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.